There's a new boogeyman in town. That's right, Magic's community and sort of general narrative is so mimetic that every week there seems to be something new to complain or bitch about. And today, I'm going to complain or bitch about the new Splinter Twin. That's right, Pioneer, that format that basically has pushed Legacy out of Wizards giving a shit and is the new non-rotating format for people who really hate fetch lands. Well, it's got a new deck in town. It's called Inverter, as people are calling it, or Inverter Oracle, as the people of Reddit are calling it. It showed up as 6 out of the top 8. No, only 5 of the top 8. 5 of the top 8 decks are Nagoya, and it was also in the finals of the Players Tour Brussels. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what the deck is. I'm going to talk about whether or not it is comparable to Splinter Twin, if it is the new Splinter Twin. I'm going to talk about that fucking word that comes up every week, bans. Yep, I mean, it gives me something to talk about on this channel, so I guess I should be thankful. Send help, please. I'm dying. I'm also going to show you one game that I recorded with it. Now, I played about 4 or 5 matches this morning with it. I say this morning, it was more like midday. And I wanted to record a league with it, but I just simply don't have time. I've got plans for other content this week as well, but I want to talk about this deck a little bit. So I'm going to show you one game that I recorded, which was the Mirror, surprisingly. Yep, that's right. The deck seems to be like fucking omnipresent, but I'll come to that more in a moment. If you don't know who I am, I'm the best beard in esports entertainment. I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. This here is my YouTube channel where I talk a lot about Magic. If you like the video, hit the like button. Drop me a comment letting me know if I missed something, if you have a counterpoint, or just let me know what you think of this new combo and whether or not it should be banned. That's the big question, right? Everyone really wants to know whether they're going to ban the Inverter, or the Oracle, or they're just going to ban Magic. This is my puppy. He just ran in the room very excited. I'm going to try and put him on my lap now while I record, but he's putting us up barking at me and it's going to make the video take a long time to record, but it's kind of worth it because he's so fucking cute. Look at how cute this bad boy is. Oh no, I'm being attacked! Oh no, you're not a cat! Oh no, Bubble, no! Anyway, the Inverter Oracle deck took first place at the Players Tour Nagoya, and it came second in Brussels, being beaten out by Joe Larson on the Sultai Delirium deck. In mid-range deck, perhaps the fair deck of Pioneer, the Jund of Pioneer, some might say. If you've yet to see the deck, well, here it is. This is Dimir Inverter. This is Canister's deck, the one that came second in Brussels. The deck is essentially a control deck. So similar to Twin, it looks to control the game and eventually win with a win condition. I'll come to the exact differences between that later on, but it's fair to say it's a control deck with a combo finish. You have copies of Thoughtseize and Fatal Push to control the game early on, disrupt your opponent's disruption, kill their creatures, or take away problematic opponents from hand with Thoughtseize. 2 more copies of Thought Erasure, 2 more copies of Drown the Lock as a removal counterspell, and 2 copies of Censor as well, which either can it can be cantripped to allow you to dig through time, or it can be used as a counterspell earlier in the game. Then there's a full suite of mana, lands, obviously, 2 copies of Omen of the Sea to allow you to scry and draw cards. And then we come to the meat of the whole thing, the combo. So essentially, the main combo piece is Inverter of Truth. It is the piece that is not redundant, so what I mean by that is there is not multiple copies of other effects that do a similar thing. Inverter of Truth is incredibly unique in Magic. Inverter is a 4-mana devoid flying Eldrazi that is a 6/6. That's right, a 4-mana flying 6/6, but it has a downside. When it enters the battlefield, you exile all cards in your library and you shuffle your graveyard to become your new library. Essentially, it sort of like does this weird crazy madness thing where it inverts and changes reality. It's cool because mechanically, or thematically should I say, it is similar to some of the effects you see out of the Elder Gods in Cthulhu mythos, where they change the angles of rooms to be angles that could not possibly exist. They change the fabric of reality, something we don't see a huge amount of in the Eldritch influenced Eldrazi, so cool from a flavor perspective. Now, this downside is an interesting downside, but it's not much of a downside when it's part of a combo. The card is most closely resembling the card Leveler from Mirrodin, a 5-mana 10/10 artifact creature that when it enters the battlefield, remove your library from the game. There have been Leveler combos that, you know, I'm sure Saffron Oliver's played them on against the odds at some point in Modern or Legacy. It has been a thing, but the reason that Inverter has become a thing in Pioneer is because Thassa's Oracle and Jace World of Mysteries. That's right, cards printed in 2019, World of Mysteries being in War of the Spark and Thassa's Oracle being in, well, I'm lying actually, it's a 2020 card, but it feels like 2019. Let's just say in the last 12 to 16 to 18 months, Magic has gotten pretty pretty cray-cray, right? Thassa's Oracle is essentially, for most decks that want it, a strictly better Laboratory Maniac. Yep, no one really thought that was going to come, but it did. It is a 2-mana 1/3 Wizard Merfolk. When it enters the battlefield, you basically look at the top cards of your library equal to your devotion to blue, and put one of them back and the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. And then, if the cards in your library are equal to or less than your devotion to blue, you win the game. So the idea is to flip 2 or less cards into your library from your graveyard, cast Thassa's Oracle, and win on the spot. Doesn't matter if they kill Thassa's Oracle, doesn't matter if they kill Inverter of Truth, I'll come more to that in a moment. Or alternatively, if you can't flip only 2 over, flip less than whatever your devotion to blue is. So thanks to a copy of Omen of the Sea, or a Jason World of Mysteries, plus the Thassa's Oracle, you can get your devotion up to, 5 or 6, and really get them. Dig Through Time is the final part of this inverted commas combo, in the sense that it finds the combo pieces, but it also sculpts your graveyard, shrinking it down, allowing you to flip less cards and kill them with the Oracle or the Jace. Jace is the redundant version of Oracle. It costs more mana, but it does draw you cards, and it gives you inevitability in its ultimate as well if you are just milling yourself out because all the inverters are dead or you never got to resolve one. And that's the deck. You can slowly grind the game out and then eventually just kill them with a 4-drop and a 2-drop. So people are comparing it to Twin. People are saying it's Twin, but it's not quite Twin. For those of you that don't know, Splinter Twin was a deck where you flashed in a Pestamite or a Deceiver Exarch at the end of their turn 3, often tapping down a land. You untapped, cast a 4-mana enchantment called Splinter Twin onto the creature, then you tap the creature to target itself with Splinter Twin's ability, to then create a copy of it which untapped itself. You then activate it again, make another copy, untap itself, do this basically infinite times. There's no infinity in Magic, so you'd have to choose an arbitrary large number, like, I don't know, 152,000 copies of Deceiver Exarch, and then you'd twat your opponent in the face. Now, Twin went off on turn 4, and it was at the uppermost peak of the turn 4 rule. Wizards of the Coast have pretended for a long time that Modern was a turn 4 format, since Twin's banning. But we've seen multiple decks kill earlier than that. From Goyo's Vengeance decks right through to Amulet, through to Hogak being one of the big problems, it's never really been a turn 4 format. The great thing about Deceiver Exarch or Pestamite is they can tap down your 1 mana you're trying to keep up for Path to Exile, or Lightning Bolt, for example, although that was bad against Exile. It had a disrupted element added into it, and also it created a minigame around where you couldn't really tap out, because they were just flashing you end step and get you good. Now, this turn distinction isn't a huge one because Pioneer is considered to be a definitely slower format. Even the most aggressive decks are really only killing virtually on turn 5 or 6. So a combo deck that goes off on turn, I don't know, 4 for the inverter, untap turn 5 to kill them with the Oracle, isn't any different to the turn 3 to 4 pseudo kill of Splinter Twin. The couple of games that I've played with Inverter, and granted I've only played a few because I haven't had a chance to really experiment with the deck, I found myself waiting till turn 6 to be able to play both of them once I'd Thoughtseize and ripped my opponent's hand apart. The interesting thing about Splinter Twin as a deck was that it was kind of weak to interaction. In spite of the ability to tap out one of their opponent's lands, you just didn't tap out on turn 3 when you realised you were against Twin, although it wasn't always clear because other blue-red decks existed. What I mean by this was that hand disruption was good. Bolt was good. Abrupt Decay, very good. Path to Exile, really good. Historically, Jund, the fairest of fair decks in Modern, was the deck that beat the shit out of Twin. You'd Thoughtseize them on turn 1, you'd play a threat, you'd Abrupt Decay them, and Bob's your uncle fan as you aren't, the Twin player is dead. It's why I never really thought Twin deserved the ban that it got, but it was banned in the interest of competitive diversity. A term that I've not really seen thrown around since, in spite of things like top 8s of Nagoya that we see here. So the main thing that differentiates Twin from this new Oracle Inverter deck is that, well, this deck doesn't really fold to removal. Once the Inverter's in play, the trigger goes on the sack. Unless you're stifling that, that's done. The graveyard goes away, the library goes away, and they get all flippy-dipty-dipty, and then you can kill your opponent with your combo pieces. Same with Thassa's Oracle. Originally, Laboratory Maniac, the card that I was comparing it to earlier, you could just kill that if they draw a card in the stack and they die, right? But Thassa's Oracle's a trigger. The triggers, it might die if you Fatal Push, but then the trigger resolves and you win. So it's not really disruptible via removal. That doesn't mean it isn't disruptible. That's not me saying the deck is too good, okay? I'll come to whether or not how I feel about banning it all of a sudden in a moment, but it may not be disruptible with removal, but you can Thoughtseize, you can Thought Erasure, you can Duress the Jace. Okay, Duress is a bad example. And Counter Magic's good too. So you're interacting in the hand and on the stack, which basically prioritizes, well, let's say prioritizes, it eliminates your interaction to it to blue and black, which is one of the other issues. If this deck is generally one of the better combo decks in the format, and the best way to fight it is to also play blue and or black, It might be that we see the deck just dominate from that perspective because the best deck to play, or best colours to play, also happen to be the colours with the combo. That said though, from a brief running through threads on Reddit and such, people do believe that mono red has a good advantageous matchup against it, 'cause it's so fast. So it turns out that actually, although you can hand disrupt and counterspell the shit out of this deck, you might just be able to run it over. I did see some matches that Saffron have played over MTG Goldfish where he got smacked about by blue-white control. So having counter magic and some planeswalkers might just be good enough to get there as well. Something else I saw from Jeff Hoogland was that Inverter of Truth has a lower floor, supposedly, than other cards that were in Twin. Ergo, if you cannot actually combo, it's still a 6/6/5 for 4. Yes and no. Let's talk about that for a second. It is a 4-mana 6/6, but the ATB trigger could just get you killed. Sometimes you're going all in, and by all in, what I mean is you're flipping 7 cards into your library, and then they push your Inverter, and you know the 7 cards that are in your library are like 2 fetch lands, Fabled Passages, a Thoughtseize, a removal spell, and a counterspell, and you now just physically cannot win the game. So you can't just play a 6/6 and smack them about. You've got to set up a game where you can win through removal. So it's not that easy. Also, Twin wasn't just a load of crap cards that were good together. Although Splinter Twin on the whole wasn't that hot without the other parts, the creatures themselves still performed a function. There is a strong tempo plan where you can play a Pestamite or Exarch early on in the game, tapping something down, and start, especially with Pestamite, swinging in the air and nickel and diming your opponent, and then bolt them a few times, and before they know it, they're dead to like, 1,000 cuts, all the while they're having to play around or play in fear of a combo. So Pestamite and Exarch weren't just terrible cards, especially Pestamite that had flying. So I don't know if I buy into the idea that the Inverter is just an alright card on its own, because sometimes just playing it out means you die anyway. Now, it's interesting that Inverter of Truth has been around since Battle for Zendikar, or... I'm looking at the expansion symbol, I think that's Battle for Zendikar. It is, right? Maybe it was the second. It was either Battle or Return. I don't know. It's cool that these cards float around and don't do anything, and then suddenly, bam, they're expensive because they've been discovered in a deck, in a new format. This deck wasn't really a thing when Pioneers started, but arguably it still could have been a thing thanks to Jace Border Mysteries and Inverter of Truth. Now, this is exciting because it means that old cards can get discovered, and I really like that about Magic, similar to what I've talked about in the past about Death Shadow, where it took years for people to refine the shell without really adding any new cards. But the other thing, I guess, is that it shows how pushed certain new cards are, and how they can unlock the potential in older shit junk mythics like Inverter of Truth. In this case, we have Thassa's Oracle, which is just an example of power creep, I think. I mean, it's already causing huge amounts of fucking issues for competitive EDH and the EDH community, because they're butting heads over whether or not Flash needs to be legal, because Flash Protein Hulk does this to the format, and apparently it's the best deck in the format, and fuck, this card is causing problems. Also, it seems to be like the default win condition now for a load of decks. There's Brain Freeze Storm decks in Legacy. Ad Nauseam in Modern can now play this alongside Lightning Storm, so it can actually beat you going Hexproof or use, I don't know, Revokering the Lightning Storm. The card is kind of absurd. It's Labman plus the extra push to win once Labman's in play, and it's just pushed. But on the upside, barring this Underworld Breach, I don't know if there else had anything else that was truly disgustingly pushed. I guess Ura was pretty good. But yeah, I guess a couple of cards like this every set's kind of exciting. So I'm not mad about it or upset. I just want to highlight that it's power creep that's causing things like Inverter of Truth to suddenly be a good card. So the majority of the top 8 of Nagoya was Inverter decks. Meanwhile, Brussels wasn't as heavily dominated in the top 8 as was Nagoya. Why was that? I don't know. Perhaps the Europeans had figured out how to beat this deck a bit quicker. Perhaps the Asian community had realised how to refine the deck to be better than the Europeans. Who knows? Metagames adjust. And that's why I'm not too keen on this whole shouting to ban the card already on the grounds of competitive diversity or not allowing a 2-card combo. But it does make me question that if this card doesn't get banned, which again, I'm siding on the side that I don't think it needs to be banned, but if it doesn't get banned, why aren't we allowed Felidar Sovereign combo? Like, we kind of need some definitive line drawn. We have the turn 4 rule in Modern, which was kind of bollocks. We had that for a while. Is the rule 2-card combos? It's hard to say. Anyway, let's just play the mirror, and then we'll come back to talking about the banning. We have lost the die roll. Our opponent's name is Gitaxian. Gitaxian 11 with a Glister the Traitor avatar. How foreboding. Our hand is okay. We can't turn 1 Thoughtseize, but we can certainly turn 2 Thoughtseize, so I'm going to keep it. Push, we've got Opt, we've got part of the combo. They're a blue deck. We drew the other part of the combo, so we're only a land or two. Well, I guess we're 3 lands away from going for it on turn 6 after we've disrupted them. Or we can go for a bit earlier if we really think they haven't got hand disruption. Well, I guess counter magic for Thassa's Oracle would also be terrible. But Thoughtseize should tell us whether the coast is going to be clear or not. They have opted. They're going to Thought Erasure us, which is kind of a shame because we're going to lose part of the combo. But I mean, that's what happens, right? Combo decks are disrupted by hand disruption. Guess we should ban this filth straight away. We're going to opt now. We're going to find Dig Through Time. We're going to put on top of our library because Dig Through Time is just gas. Pure gas. And that's going to help us to find the lands plus the other part of the combo again later. I'm now going to have a look at their hand with Thoughtseize because I'm scared of them like casting... Oh, it's just the mirror. So this is the other problem with the deck. Perhaps it isn't too good. But perhaps we got to a point where metagames become stale because everyone plays the same deck. Like, I don't plan to play this deck forever. I'm playing for content. But that said, I did bin like 7 games of Mono Green Stompy that I lost with last week, where I played 2 Supreme Verdict decks, 2 Inverter of Truth decks, and 3 others. And I thought, that's the first time I'd seen Inverter of Truth was last week prior to the player tours. And I was like, huh, cool deck. Interesting. I think in the commentary I said, interesting deck. Didn't realise it was the next big hotness. Well, either way, this is 2 parts of the same combo piece. I'm going to get rid of the Inverter because it's the less redundant one. Getting rid of the Jace still allows them to draw Jaces and Thassa's Oracles, where Inverter is 1 of 4 copies in the deck total. They played a Watery Grave. Let's keep an eye on what they play out of their hand. Our pushes in the mirror don't seem too hot on this. We're going to play Fabled Passage. We can crack it for a tap land, I guess. I mean, it's completely redundant here. I guess they don't know 3 of the cards in our hand, but they cycle Censor, which wasn't in their hands. That was their card drawn last turn. They now untap, play Castle Lochthwain, and they can play Jace Wielder of Mysteries, which we can also play next turn as well. Guess that's where we're at now. They're going to mill themselves, putting cards into their bin. We're going to crack this Fabled Passage. Go and grab an island. Make sure we get the island. If we didn't get the island, we can't play Jace. We're going to play Jace as well. Our plan is just to dig the time into the combo here. So let's go Swamp, Jace, up, targeting ourselves to fuel the dig through time. We drew a fetid hit pools, which we can cycle, but we don't want to do that. Now we just like sort of Jace each other, or Jace ourselves on either side of the board. Now the interesting thing I guess about Jace is that it ups your oh baby. Okay, that's definitely a magic card. They're going to bounce our Jace or make a 2/3. Jace increases your devotion, and there's also a win con. It does a lot of things. I guess at this point we want to dig through time for interaction, perhaps? They know we've got an Oracle in hand. This is an interesting selection of cards to play with, honestly. I'm going to dig through time. Ideally, we're looking for the Inverter and a way to kill the Ashok, I believe. We did not find those things. I guess I take another dig through time and perhaps a Thoughtseize? Yeah, that seems good. We can now tick up Jace, targeting ourselves to draw another card. Hit a land drop. Play Fetid Pools. We've got an Inverter of Truth into our bin, so that's 2 out of our 4 inverters gone now. Not ideal, but that's where we're at. I'm going to Thoughtseize them here so we can get perfect information again. Dig Through Time and opt Fetid Pools and Temple to Sea. So we'll take the Dig Through Time because it's easily the best card in our hand. That I actually thought was the Battleborn land because the art reminds me of the Battleborn lands a little bit, just in composition more so than anything else. We're going to keep up the push so we can push the Nightmare if they attack, if they go to combat, I guess. An excellent card to my library does get us closer to Jace as a win con, but I mean, Drown the Lot kills creatures, but it can't kill Jace. Like, we don't actually have a way in our deck to kill Jace. We have no bounce spells. We have no Hero's Downfalls. They may just get to draw 7 eventually, which is that's not what I want to let my opponent do, but I guess that's the game of Magic we're playing. The other thing I guess is this. Like casting exiled cards. Ugh. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. They opt. They're going to mill themselves with Jace again. Oh, they're milling us now. Guess that gets us close to a Jace win? Maybe? So right now, if they would have played Inverter of Truth, they'd still put like 11 cards back on top of the library, which means they'd struggle to win with Thassa's Oracle, but it would put them quite close to a Jace World of Mysteries win. And if they know the mirror, they might know that we... Well, I guess there's a 50-50 chance you're playing any Hero's Downfalls or Swift Ends, also known as Murderous Ends. They've got to dig through time here, so they can actually now really exile their library and try and find an Inverter of Truth. So with our dig through time, we're going to look for some hand disruption to stop them from combo killing us. I guess. They're going to return our Jace to hand. And we're going to exile an island. If we draw Inverter of Truth, we just win? No, we don't. They've got a Thought Erasure here. Okay. They're going to Thought Erase and take the Jace, I assume. Although Thassa's Oracle is also an option, and so is Dig Through Time. Dig Through Time finds... They took Dig Through Time, because they don't want us to find one of our other 2 inverters and just, like, randomly kill them, I guess. And it also manages the graveyard for that combo. So we're kind of getting really hard cut off that combo now. They attack us with the Nightmare. That exiles some cards from our library. Makes Jace considerably better. It exiled... No... So we still got 2 inverters in our decks. That's nice. We drew a Thought Erasure of our own. We play an island for the turn. I guess we play a Jace for the turn just to draw another card. Like, why wouldn't we, right? Mill ourselves for 2. Draw an Opt. Now we can Thought Erasure them, because we don't want them to untap and go, well, as long as Jace isn't on 8, we're kind of okay. The thing is, the Thought Erasure, the Surveyor is kind of useless because I'm going to exile cards from my library anyway. So I think I'm just going to double Opt on their end step and try and do something the following turn. We only have 30 cards left in our library. I'm just a little bit wary that we've only seen one of their inverters. But the graveyard is pretty stacked, so the inverter kill plus... Well, I guess Thassa's Oracle looks 5-6 deep here. And their graveyard only has 7 cards in it, so yeah, that's pretty close to a kill, right? Also, this is going to go to 8 this turn, which means they're actually able to inverter kill us the following turn. It seems like our list might just be badly positioned for fighting the mirror if they have multiple Planeswalkers. I guess we really wanted to censor or drown lock this. They took one of my Opts. They flipped 8 cards into their library. They're going to draw 8 cards next turn thanks to Jace World of Mysteries. 5 cards in library. We have literally no way to beat them here, bar drawing an inverter. Oh, they have a Thassa anyway. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes you have one. Oh, right. Okay, we can't beat them. Poke's bored this build as well, which is Canister's like build from the PT. I guess the thing is that don't forget, like going into that event, you aren't necessarily expecting to beat the mirror because it's kind of still unknown tech. It was a known entity, sure, but like no one was like this card deck is gonna ruin everyone. I think I'm going to bring in 3 Mystical Disputes, a Scarab God that's still there, inverters out of the graveyard if we get into a situation like that again. Perhaps a Thief of Sanity as well. And maybe a Jace to grind them out. I'm going to cut all 4 Fatal Pushes, both Omens of the Sea. At least we have an alternative win condition now of like slapping them with Scarab Gods. I mean, we could slap them with inverters, but we never managed to keep one in our hand or play it. We're going to play first. We're going to keep a hand with... Yeah, we can play Tutor History, reveal our Watery Grave and start like ripping their hand. Double Thoughtseize seems pretty good in the mirror, honestly. Their hand is Dig Through Time, Duress, Censor, Inverter of Truth and Scarab God. I am going to... Well, they've got 2 tap lands as well. So... I guess we take the Scarab God because it's so hard to deal with and we'll deal with the Duress or the Inverter later. If we get to reanimate their Scarab God, I will be laughing all the way to the bank. But, well, that's legendary, so reanimating it just gets exiled, by the way. But we get to get rid of it. It feels like a... Not all the way to the bank, it's not like, because you don't get any value out of it, but it just feels like a real good, you know, like, fuck you moment if you Scarab God their Scarab God. Seems good. They play Temple of Deceit. They put 1 card on top of their library. Drew an Inverter of Truth. We play a Watery Grave and we shock ourselves. I'm going to Thoughtseize them, take their Duress. They've got double Inverter of Truth. We're going to opt on instead, looking for a land. They have played the Drowned Catacombs and don't have much else to do. On their end step, we're going to cast Opt. We find an Inverter of Truth. We're going to bottom that because we've already got 1 in hand. We find Thassa's Oracle. So we've got the kill, essentially. But we have also struggled to get anywhere with land drops. Is our opponent... No, our opponent's not facing the same issue, but they do have... Do we let them have Censor, but we... Keeping them, letting them have Censor means they get to counter whatever we play, like our Dig Through Time, right? But letting them have Dig Through Time seems terrible too. I guess we can censor their Dig Through Time, but we're going to get rid of the Censor now, so we can cast our Dig Through Time if we get there first. So they're hopefully just going to play a tap land this turn. Keeping track of what's in their hand up here. They got Drowned Catacombs, 2 Inverters, and a Dig Through Time. They play their tap land. Sweet. They play a Thought Eraser. Not so sweet. I guess they take Dig Through Time here because we're struggling for land drops. Dig Through Time also sets up the combo in terms of hitting land drops, and also exiling things out of our graveyard so we can actually go invert it into Thassa's Oracle. They could also just take our Censor to protect their Dig Through Time, but that doesn't seem correct. No, it was distinctly not correct. We drew another Censor. We're getting screwed on land drops. We can cycle these Censors if they don't go for it this turn, I guess. But they now have the mana for Dig Through Time, so we can't let them Dig Through Time. That's not something we can allow them to do. So we just got to set on our Censors now. They know we've got Censor thanks to Thought Erasure. We really want to draw some lands. Come on. Come on. Okay. We can't. On the upside, we can cycle one Censor and then we can counter their Dig Through Time. Thought Erasure. Okay. Not the best thing in the world, but not the worst. If they hit a land drop here, we can pay for it. And if they go land drop dig, then we just basically lose. And that's magic. Sometimes you lose to variance, right? They've got their own mystical dispute. Not only are we fucked on lands, we're fucked on them having more hand disruption and more counter magic. How is that even humanly possible? Do they have more? Double Thought Erasure, Censor, Mystical Dispute. That's 4 copies. We have Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize. Mystical Dispute, double. No, we do have more. It's just not even remotely fucking relevant, it seems. But on the upside, they aren't going to be Dig Through Timing us this turn, so we can keep up our 2 mana. They take one of the combo pieces, they take the non-redundant versions I mentioned earlier. We're now just going to cycle our Censor and hope to fucking god we hit some land drops. We hit another Thoughtseize. Okay, we have got more hand disruption and counterspells than them, but they've got a Dig Through Time and they've got mana. We hit a land drop, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking get inside me. We're gonna now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Center doesn't do anything, so I guess we're gonna take. Ooh, they've got double Inverter of Truth in hand. So we're gonna take the Dig Through Time. We're gonna Censor in their turn. They know what's in our hands, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so they got one card we don't know about, and double Inverter. We drew another land, which is sweet. So we have our lands now for our Inverter of Truth. We're going to play our Watery Grave tapped. And we're going to pass the turn. They knew about the Watery Grave. They don't know about the failed pass. They know about the Thassa's Oracle. But playing it out now. They play nothing. We drew another land. Now I've asked for lands. Can I ask Modo to stop giving me lands? We had a really interesting first game. And this game is also interesting. But I feel like I just want to win at this point. And this is not how you win. Not drawing like this anyway. Okay, let's go Fabled Passage. Fills up our yard for a dig, which doesn't seem necessarily what we want to do. But it also allows us to thin our deck mildly. It also enables Fatal Push, but that's not really relevant here. If they just Inverter, then Inverter it. Yeah, if they Inverter here, we probably just... Oh, they don't Inverter. They've got... They have a Jace at the point that we can't stop it. Okay. They can just Inverter and kill us now, I think. I don't think we stand much of a chance. We need to draw the combo ASAP. And even then, drawing the Inverter now doesn't kill them because it's not Splinter Twin. We have to shrink our graveyard as well. So saying it's Splinter Twin is quite disingenuous. Yes! Yes! Fabled Passage! Just what the Doctor ordered. Okay. We could fire out the Thassa's Oracle to try and find something. But again, I don't think that's how we win. How we win... How do we win? I mean, drawing anything that isn't a fucking land would be good. Okay, our opponent has played another land. They've played an Inverter. Not only do we have a 6/6 flying creature that we cannot deal with the current composition of the deck. Even Ultimate Price, by the way, can't hit Inverter of Truth because it's fucking devoid. But apart from that, we also have them comboing us. They only have 8 cards left in their library, and Jace is ticking up. So yeah, it's not going great. If I'm completely honest, we might be able to combo kill if we draw Dig Through Time this turn, like literally this turn, so that we can untap and kill them the following turn if they don't disrupt us. Oh hot damn! That's a fucking swamp. Okay, well, I guess I just fucking die. So as you can see, there are interesting games of Magic to be had, even in the mirror. Let's just hope Pioneer doesn't descend into being just the mirror. Perhaps that might be why it ends up getting banned, because of competitive diversity, because too many people are just playing this one thing. And that leads me to my final point. is that it seems to me that we are very ban happy now, and that might be the correct thing to do if Wizards are pushing the power level, which they undoubtedly are. But it does bring me to start questioning if better players than I are breaking these cards, as it were, and the rest of the community and the rest of the metagame, the underbelly below the pro scene, as it were, is just copying them. Net decking, if you will, even though I mock the term net decking. And then we just see league after league of these decks, and they put up more 5-0s because people are playing it more, right? And then the card is overrepresented because people think it's more broken than it is. And then before the metagame can adjust, before people find out the cards or the strategies that beat these cards are found, the card's gone, it's banned out. And we don't have that time to adjust things. Once upon a time, it used to be that Wizards of the Coast would print cards into the following sets to nuke older cards. For example, Thundermaw Hellkite famously was designed to make Lingering Souls worse. But beyond that, we were given time for metagames to even out, and decks that would beat other decks would grow in popularity, and other decks that could beat the deck A that beat deck B would grow. The whole control versus mid-range versus aggro cycle, that sort of thing doesn't seem to exist as much anymore because bans are happening so much. It's a really hard position to take. And I'm not sure where I really lie on it. I wax and wane. I know that bans are necessary to moderate the power creep, but at the same time, I kind of want to let people try and adjust and learn counter strategies. But at the same time, you can't do that as a company that is balancing a game if the majority of the player base are pissed off, upset, or just stop playing because ladders or leagues become boring because everyone's playing the same shit. So that's where I stand at the moment. I don't think the deck is too good. I don't think it's necessarily comparable to Splinter Twin because it differs in many ways. A, the way you interact with it, and B, its secondary game plan. I don't think it's... Well, I never thought Twin was a problem, I guess is one of the key points of this whole discussion. I never thought Twin was a problem, so if it is the Pioneer Twin, then so be it. Let's just adjust and get better and try and beat it. However, it might just dominate all the leagues for time to come because everyone's playing the fucking thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's at least taught you a little bit about what's going on with it. If you've been reading about it on Twitter or on Reddit and didn't quite understand, I hope this gives you some clarity. If there's anything else you want to ask or me to update in a later video, let me know down below. And let me know what you think about the idea of bans and the banning of this thing. Like, I don't think it should go. I think we should try and adjust for a while. I could eat my fucking words and say next week that I was full of shit. But that's kind of the cool and interesting thing about an evolving metagame, right? Sometimes it's hard to keep up. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with the bans. Leave me a comment below, drop a like, and I'll see you all in the next video. Ta-ta for now.